Hello and welcome to After Scientology, Straight Up and Vertical, the weekly show where Tony Ortega and I get together and go over the week's events in the world of Scientology as reported on Tony's Substack every week. Hey, Tony, welcome back.
Thank you, Chris. It's Sunday afternoon and we're still dealing with this news. We just heard about Mike Rinder a couple of hours ago, and I think both of us are still kind of dealing with the thought that he's not around. I mean, it's just really a blow. I had to kind of just take a moment and get used to the idea. It's just shocking. I mean, we've all seen the thing he's been going through all year. We kind of knew this was coming, but it's still I'm still sorting through all the things that he did and all the great work that he did and just the wonderful things he said to me over the years. I learned a lot from that guy, and it's going to be really tough getting used to Mike Rinder not being around.
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said. I just got off my 2-hour live stream Q&A show. I expressed myself there, and of course, I made a whole video about him a month or two ago. And all I'm going to say right now, in sort of summary of this, is that Mike Rinder is a hero. He will always be a hero to me, and I think that it is very, very unfortunate that there is some, has been an effort to stain and, bring him down by a group of people. I think that's really gross. Mike is a hero, and he was an inspiration to me, in everything I do in the Scientology space, everything. If I can accomplish half of what he did, it will be a job well done. So anyway. I've said a lot more in other places, so I'm just going to leave this short today on that one. But I'm really sad. It's going to be a whole different thing fighting Scientology without him around.
Yeah, I remember when he first came out, it was such a big deal. And I remember at first, a lot of us weren't sure how it was going to go because this was Mike Rinder, and he was not ready immediately. I don't know if everybody remembers this, but he was not ready immediately to come out. Like when they were doing the Truth Rundown of the Tampa Bay Times, they had Marty on board, they had the Headleys, they had Jefferson Hawkins, and they really, really, really wanted Mike Rinder. And Mike was like, "Look, I'll verify things for you." But he had just left in 2007, and when they were doing that in 2009, he's like, "I'll tell you, I'll be there for you if you get sued, I'll testify or whatever. But I'll verify the things that the others are saying, but I'm not ready yet."
Yeah,
it was a period there where he had to kind of figure things out, and then of course, when he did really come out, he went to Sweeney first because of what he had put Sweeney through in Sweeney's first special.
that's
And
right.
so they had that fantastic second special. And then about a year and a half later, I'd been talking to him for a few years, and I said, "I'm going to go down and see this guy." I flew down there in 2012, and just had a really great time sitting. I can still remember us sitting in this outdoor table in downtown Clearwater, and the security guards were freaked out. PIs were driving around, and he was explaining all this to me. I think that was my first trip to the Flag Land Base, and it was just so fun to talk to this guy and realize that he had been everywhere. This was so wonderful about his book. If you have not read Mike Rinder's book, you should really do so, because this is he seemed to be the guy that was always on the scene and witnessed these incredible things. And what I loved about talking with him was sometimes Scientology does some stuff that's so mystifying, and you can't understand why they're doing what's going on. And he was so good at figuring it out because he knew Miscavige better than Miscavige knows himself. and he
Yes.
could say, this is what Dave's thinking and this is why he's doing this. So it was just I just had such a great time, and he was always helpful. Anytime I had a question, he was there ready to answer it. And it was just, I don't know, a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, I was still exchanging emails with him, and
Yeah.
he was helping me out on some stuff. So I think it was just before Christmas. I think on the thing I wrote today, I said it was just a few days ago. I looked it up. I think it was just before Christmas was my last email exchange with him. So he was still helping me out. I mean, it was amazing. Um, and I'm so glad that I got a chance to have those exchanges with him.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking forward to what Leah's got to say. I know she was there,
Yeah.
and it'll be interesting to see what she's got to say. I haven't heard anything from her yet. But and that's the other thing is I think, in the field of watching Scientology, this is a big loss, and we're going to be feeling it for quite a while. But right now, who I'm really thinking about is that family, that Christy Colbrand and Shane and Jack and Leah's there, and people like Amy and Matt are down there, people that are all very close to them. So I hope they're all doing okay, and hopefully we get to hear from them before too long.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything you said, you know, he's going to be missed. Okay. Let's move on.
All right. There were
okay.
a few other things that happened this week.
There were. And in fact, this week has been full of ups and downs. Let's go ahead and go to the next story you covered, which I was actually pleasantly surprised at how good this was. And this was Mark Bunker's latest effort. We'll break this down for us.
Well, he was vice mayor of Clearwater, ran for re-election to city council, and lost in a very close race, unfortunately, and took some time off. And then I think he had to think about, okay, what am I going to do now? And he is retooled in the most interesting way. I have to admit, I hate AI. I hate what it's doing to social media.
Yep.
I hate what it's the jobs that it's challenging. But if you're going to use AI, this is the way to do it, right? He does these wonderful parodies of Scientology's own photos and art. Just hilarious send-ups of L. Ron Hubbard pictures and David Miscavige pictures. Really, really, really well done. And I promoted him. He calls it Bunkology, as the new, sort of parody Church of Scientology. And he said, "Listen, I'm now experimenting with video because the video tools are getting exponentially better every few weeks. It's kind of incredible."
Yep.
And he had decided to have some fun with that new ad. Scientology put out 3 new TV ads that they premiered at their IAS gala in October. And that I assume one of them may become the Super Bowl ad next month. And maybe it will be this one that features this actress, Winnie Landry, where these various Scientologists are looking at the camera and said, yeah, people are surprised when they find out I'm one. And they wait till the end to tell you that they're talking about being Scientologists. It's clever, it's creative, it's better than the usual Scientology ad. So Mark decided to make fun of it by creating all these AI people that, if you watch carefully, are all either based on him, David Miscavige, or Tori Christman.
That's right. I could not believe while I was watching it that I kept seeing Miscavige's face emerging from these people. And it was obviously, the AI, but it was so cleverly done. He really did do a good job.
And then the other thing he's making fun of is not just the way they did that ad, but
that's right.
The problem with these Scientology TV ads is they're all mystery sandwiches. They're all trying to give you this vague feeling that Scientology is this really cool thing that's going to help you explore yourself, whatever the hell that means. They never tell you a thing about what Scientology actually is. So what Mark has done is use that same style, that's almost the same language, but instead reveal all the crazy and abusive things in Scientology in a very, very funny way. So yeah, it's 5 minutes. It's lots of material there for people to have fun with. I think you should watch it and enjoy it. I think it's great. I think he's doing wonderful stuff.
It was fun, and I will say I laughed out loud a few times at the points I was supposed to. They had all the right jokes, and
Right.
and it was full. I mean, full of inside jokes. So
Yeah.
for Scientology watchers. So anyway, yeah, I think that was a lot of fun. And if he's got more of that coming, like he said, it's a lot of work, So now there was another article, and probably I thought one of the best kind of wrap up end of year things, which was all the legal stuff. Do you want to talk about this article
Yeah,
or
I've been meaning to do this for
yeah.
a long time, and I finally thought, well, this is the time to do it. Is like second to the last post of the year, because we're following more court cases than ever right now. There's so many different state and federal lawsuits, prosecutions, things that we're just keeping an eye on. And every day I'm checking all these different dockets and courts in different parts of the country. And I know that my readers are familiar with these cases, but they all kind of blend together after a while. And I heard a lot of people very much appreciated that I went through each of the cases, gave a quick background on what they were, what the latest is, what the next step is, and tried to give some understanding of these various cases. So, for example, Danny Masterson's criminal prosecution. He's now at the stage where he's been in prison for a year and a half, and he's appealing. And the appeal brief came in a little too long, and so the court has asked for his appellate attorney to cut that down. That's due January 22nd. So that's just little updates like that. People appreciate that. Danny Masterson's civil case that's on appeal, and there's some interesting things there about how Scientology's trying desperately to keep that case from becoming much more serious. The Jane Doe victims are trying to add much more serious allegations to that lawsuit, and they've been unable to so far. But we're waiting for this interlocutory appeal to go through. So that's interesting. There's Leah Remini's lawsuit. There's the L. Ron Hubbard 2.0 in jail in Tennessee. There's this guy, David Gentili, who's this wealthy New York guy that was convicted for running a $1.8 billion Ponzi scheme. He's a big Scientology donor. He's looking at up to 20 years in prison. His sentence is scheduled for March. So these are the kind of things I put together so everyone can kind of get on the same page for all these different lawsuits. And I think, like I said, I heard from people that they really appreciated it.
Oh, I sure did. I even learned some stuff, and we cover this stuff every week. So I absolutely was glad to see all the summary of all of that, and a way of pulling some of the cases apart, right? Because some of them, like you mentioned, they kind of meld in your mind, and
Yes.
and so you want to separate them out. And there is a lot going on, and and we're going to have an interesting 2025 and watching these things, kind of plod forward in their.
Valerie Haney, Valeska Paris, Whitney Mills, Priscilla Presley. I mean, like I said, more cases than we've ever had to watch before, and they're all going to have something happening in January and February. So it's interesting. It's going to be 2025 is going to start off pretty fast, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Also on this end of year wrap up is the Scientology New Year's event. Shrine Auditorium again?
Yeah, so they did the Shrine Auditorium thing, and they actually tape it a couple weeks early. In this case, I think it was Saturday, the 14th of December. They have everybody come down, fill up the Shrine Auditorium, and David Miscavige gives another one of his 3-hour speeches. And that then on New Year's Eve itself, they show the video of it in all the orgs. So that then they can pretend that, so then on December 14th, they pretend it's New Year's Eve. And then on New Year's Eve, they actually show the video. And that night, I had a story ready for the morning, and had a little bubbly that night, and went to bed about 1 o'clock in the morning. And then just as I was laying my head down on the pillow, I said, I better just look at my phone one last time. And sure enough, there was a message from Apostate Alex saying, hey, they just posted their slideshow just now on their website. So I had to get back up. get the computer going again. And but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed going through that slideshow because I want to know which celebrities were there. And it was pretty weak this time. The only celebrities I was able to spot in those photos in the front row were Marisol Nichols and Nancy Cartwright, and that's it. I mean, and the other really recognizable figures were big donors, people like Steve Fabos and Craig Jensen and Tom Cummins.
Yeah.
So that's about it. It really wasn't a great showing as far as Scientology celebrities, but still had some interesting images to share with people, and that was a very popular post. People were very interested in seeing David Miscavige at his little lectern, in his snazzy tuxedo, once again, Chris.
So funny. I was actually surprised to see that Craig Jensen, it's a horrible thing to say, but I was surprised to see he was still alive because he looks the same as he did 20 years ago. He's such an old guy, right? He's one of those wealthy techno CEO guys, right? He has a computer software company. And it's interesting how these whales, Tom Cummins, for example, I've seen his picture all over the UK, IIS, this thing. But, the celebrities, where's Elizabeth Moss? Where's Michael Pena? Where's these other top flight celebs,
Right, exactly. I guess, Travolta sticks to the LRH birthday in Clearwater. Tom Cruise sticks to the IAS in England. And look, this is a big venue. It holds more than 6,000 people.
Yeah.
So I come to two conclusions with the fact that they can fill it when Ruth Eckerd Hall in Clearwater is only 2,100 seats.
Yep.
I draw two conclusions. One is Los Angeles is still the biggest concentration of Scientologists in the world.
Yep.
But it has lost much of its importance and power. And
Yep.
the real power center is now Clearwater, even if there aren't as many Scientologists there as there are in Los Angeles. That's the conclusion I draw. And we do, if we looked very carefully at the photos, and there were empty rows, both on the balcony and in the lower seats. And one of my readers, Techie, who's real experienced, he was saying back when they were doing that in the 80s and 90s, they never had an empty seat because they had overflow halls. And if anybody left the main hall, they'd send people in to fill it up. So the fact that they are not filling up the main hall, he thinks is very significant. But I mean, still, they can still fill a big place like that mostly. So I think there's still a lot of Scientologists in LA. I just don't think that Los Angeles is as important to David Miscavige and the Church of Scientology as it once was.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, obviously, what the behind the scenes is on the call in or what it took to drive all those Scientologists into there. But classically, New Year's with Miscavige present in person is the high pressure event to get people to in Los Angeles. And having been the guy sitting people's butts in chairs for years at those events, yeah, the what Techie said is true enough, and certainly the priority is filling that hall as in any way possible. And obviously, all the Sea Org members are also sitting in there in Los Angeles, except for the smallest little skeleton crew of people who are literally prepping or running the venue, the Shrine Auditorium. So. All right. And finally, this was a story. Boy, talk about blast from the past. Kathy Steiner and Tammy Sinovic, who I used to know and do know, and Ventura Mission and Derek Sinovic, another person I knew. What's the story on that?
So it's interesting timing because it was a year ago, January 1st, 2024, that I started off the year at the bunker with a wonderful story with Tammy. Tammy and I had been talking for years, and we decided to make that public. And she gave me a wonderful story about what she had been through, and her daughter disconnected from them. Derek died of cancer. The whole thing is just a really difficult story about how a family gets just decimated by the Church of Scientology. And so just this last week, she was digging through some stuff and found some of Derek's papers and found this 1998 letter where Kathy Steiner at the mission was dressing down Derek for his poor performance as an employee, and actually said something like, I can't believe you've chosen having children over the health of the mission, it's just,
Yeah.
it's so pure Scientology in its purest form, right? So
Yes.
she posted that, and I said, this is amazing, and she said, well, if you want to put it in the bunker, go ahead. And she gave me some words to put with it, and I don't know, it just got a huge reaction because it's such a great look into what it's like to work in that organization, and so different than what they say about themselves publicly. And I just really owe it to Tammy that she found that and decided to make it public. And like she was criticizing Derek because Tammy had dared to treat an illness with medicine rather than assists. I mean, it's amazing letter.
Oh, it's pure Scientology. I mean, really unfiltered. Um, and it's such a good window, as you mentioned. I worked with Kathy and Tom Steiner at that Buenaventura mission for many years because I was in Santa Barbara at the org, which is supposedly the senior organization to that mission. And so I was going down there all the time physically. I'd go down there, deliver stuff at the mission to the staff, or the staff would come up to Santa Barbara. And I interacted with these people, very, very intimately for years. And the Steiners were always hell on wheels. They were, the most lauded, most powerful mission holders. And in the Scientology world, that term is important for the people who run these missions. You can run more than one. And they had Baton Rouge and Buenaventura and I think a couple others at the height of their work. They were as hardcore as you can get, short of joining the Sea Org.
Yeah.
They were all the way up to that. And they had a Sea Org attitude. Especially Kathy. Tom was a little bit more laid back. He was a musician. He kind of liked the music part of things. Kathy was the hell on wheels. And that letter was such a blast from the past for me of rubbing my face in the awful of what I had been around for years and had reasoned through as totally acceptable, all makes sense. Yes, she has to be this way. It's very important to talk to people the way she talks to people because they need to have their ethics put in. All of these nonsensical ideas I had as a cult member are now gone. And so I look at this thing and I'm like, holy shit, this woman is insane. And that is exactly what's reflected in the letter is how dare you have a child? How dare you get sick? How dare you not make this the number one priority in your entire life over anything else, including the woman you love? You scumbag. That's why I'm kicking you out of here because you can't stop putting yourself in front of this organization. It is you read it, you're just like, this thing is on fire. And when you stop and think about what Scientology is about and what it does to people, this woman's a monster.
Okay, but Chris, as somebody that was in the Sea Org, didn't you have this done to you as well? When I asked Alex and Pete and Bruce about it, Bruce was in the Sea Org, and he said he got this a lot, except that it was usually verbal. The thing for him that was unusual was that it was all written down in a letter. He said that for the Sea Org, that would be unusual. You get this stuff screamed at your face.
That's
Is that
exactly
what you went through?
Say. Yep. Absolutely. It's exactly what I was going to say is what she wrote down there is exactly what she would have said to his face had he appeared in front of her. But instead, she wrote it down, right? That was what Kathy would do. She was not shy or timid. She was willing to rip into your face just as much as she was willing to write it down on a piece of paper. But you're absolutely right. Very rarely okay, well, we used to call what she would write down there, we called that a face ripping.
Face ripping, right.
A face ripping. We also called it a severe reality adjustment. An SRA. I'm going to give you an SRA. This is all Scientology.
Okay. All right.
And
was it also an R factor?
Yes, it could also be, a severe reality adjustment was the next step up from R factor.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, and neither of these terms, face ripping or severe reality adjustment, are in any Scientology dictionary. It's just language that evolved in the culture. Yeah. So, the point being that, usually you are at the receiving end of this with somebody telling it to you. Very, very, very true. Very true. But daily, pretty much a daily occurrence for the Sea Org, which is why it's so. But it was so rare to see it outside of the Sea Org at the public level as harshly as what Kathy did there, and that's why it's so noteworthy. So, all right. So a little window into what we're fighting, like for real, right? It's bad stuff. It's abusive stuff. And on that, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up. I guess I wanted to ask you real fast, Tony. We didn't set this up. I'm springing it on him. But after your whole year review, wrap up, all the look back at 24, what's your takeaway for Scientology in 2024?
For me personally, it was a fulfilling year because I managed to land a couple of big stories that I've been working on for quite a while. I was very proud of the story I did about ECT for the Daily Beast because I think that's a very important sort of little litigation war that's secretly going on, which Scientology's waging against these two small companies. That was a very important story. It took me a long time. I got that in this year. I got to go to the Auntie Michael Green trial and discover some really interesting things there. That was very fulfilling for me. I would say in general, 2024 was a little frustrating because so many of the cases we're following were either mired in this arbitration garbage or got slowed down by Scientology appeals.
Yep.
So if you looked at the list of cases that I went through, Leah's case and the Jane Doe's case, it just like this whole year felt like Scientology had managed to slow things down. And then while all that's going on, we had to watch poor Mike Rinder going through this terrible journey. And I felt like this was a tough year for Scientology watchers in general. Although, like I said, I had a few high spots for myself for some stories that I finally got to land, and hopefully that'll be like I said. Well, like I said earlier, all those cases that were kind of dragging in 2024, they've all got pretty early dates in 2025 to get things going again. So I think we're going to see a more active year this year on that side, and we'll just have to see what a new administration in Washington D.C. means for it. I don't know, but I would say in general, for me personally, it was a fulfilling year, but for Scientology watching in general, I think it was a little frustrating this year.
I agree completely. I could not summarize it better, so I'll just leave it at that. Folks out there, I want to thank you for your continuing viewership and support of our show and our efforts here to bring the Scientology news to you. That is what this show is all about, and really nothing else. And we appreciate you coming around and watching us every week. Tony's Substack is right there on the screen. The address has been the same this whole time. Go there. Get your subscription, get your notifications, get your daily news, and then check back in with us on Mondays for the wrap up. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year.